The crystal cave was quiet and full of soft light. Deep inside, on a bed of ancient stone, lay a dragon who was older than any living thing in the galaxy. His name was Vormathax and he was dying. Once, his scales had shone like pure gold. Now they looked gray and dull like old ashes. His breathing was slow and hard. Each breath took more effort than the last. He had lived for 10,000 years and now his time was finally ending. Vormathax had seen everything. He remembered when humans were still hiding in caves on their tiny planet. He had ruled over stars and shaped whole worlds with his power. He had watched empires rise up and then fall into dust. But now all the dragons were fading away. One by one they had chosen to sleep forever. The galaxy had moved on without them. The dragon did not fear death. He had made his choice. He would die here alone with dignity. His eyes were half closed. There was nothing left to see. Nothing left to do. Then something shook the cave. Metal screamed against rock somewhere above him. The ground shook hard. Something big had just crashed into the moon's surface. Vormathax's mind could still sense feelings from far away, even though this power was almost gone. He felt panic. He felt fear. He felt desperation. Some weak creatures were in trouble nearby. He did not care. Let the small races have their small problems. He was beyond all that now. Soon he would be gone and none of it would matter. Hours passed. Maybe days. Time meant nothing anymore. Then he heard footsteps. Small footsteps. They echoed through the crystal chambers. Someone was walking through his cave. Vormathax did not move. Whoever it was would only find a dead dragon soon enough. The footsteps came closer and closer. Then they stopped. "Hello?" a small voice called out. The voice was shaking but also brave. Vormathax opened one huge eye. In front of him stood a human child. The boy was only about 8 years old. His face was dirty and his clothes were torn. But his eyes were wide with wonder, not with fear. "You're really big," the boy whispered. "Are you sleeping?" "Dying," Vormathax said. His voice sounded like mountains grinding together. The words went straight into the boy's mind. "Leave me, small one." But the child did not run away. Instead he came closer. His face looked sad. "Does it hurt?" Nobody had asked Vormathax a question like that in a very long time. Dragons did not talk about pain. They were strong. They commanded others. They conquered worlds. But this small human child looked truly worried about him. "No," Vormathax lied. The boy nodded slowly. Then he did something that changed everything. He walked right up to the dragon and put his small warm hand on the dragon's huge claw. Heat exploded through Vormathax's whole body. But it was not the heat of fire. It was the heat of life itself. Energy rushed through parts of his body that had been dead for years. His second heart, which had not beaten in decades, suddenly beat once. The darkness that had been crushing him pulled back just a little bit. Just enough. Both of Vormathax's eyes snapped open. They blazed with sudden light and awareness. "Impossible," he whispered. The boy smiled, looking nervous. "I'm Thomas. What's your name?" Vormathax stared at the child. He could feel something flowing from the boy's hand into his body. It was like a warm light. It was pushing back the death that had been taking him. How was this possible? In 10,000 years he had never felt anything like this. "Vormathax," he finally said. "I am called Vormathax." Thomas sat down on the ground right there in front of the huge dragon. He was not afraid at all. He started talking about a crashed spaceship. He talked about people who were running from bad creatures called Krell. He talked about his home that had burned. He talked about his parents who had died. The dragon listened. For the first time in a very long time he felt curious. He reached out with his mind to truly understand what was happening. This human child was different. All humans were different. They had something inside them that no other race in the galaxy had. They made their own energy somehow. They made their own light. They made their own hope. And that hope was saving him. "Your touch is healing me," Vormathax said quietly. "How is this possible?" Thomas shrugged. "I don't know. Does it feel good?" "Yes," the dragon admitted. "It feels very good." For the first time in 1,000 years, Vormathax felt something other than emptiness and resignation. He felt interested. He felt alive. He wanted to understand this mystery. He wanted to know more about these strange, small creatures called humans. Perhaps he was not finished after all. Perhaps there was one more thing for him to do before the end. Thomas sat on the cave floor in front of the dragon. He talked and talked the way children do when they are not afraid. He told Vormathax about the spaceship that crashed. He told him about the colony that burned down. He told him about the people who were hiding in the broken ship just outside the cave. Vormathax listened carefully. His mind powers were working again for the first time in many years. Through his connection with Thomas, he could feel more than just the boy's thoughts. He could feel something deeper. It was like a special light that came from inside the child. It pulsed with strong, clean energy. "Your people," Vormathax said gently. "They are running away from something?" Thomas nodded. His face became sad. "The bad things came. Captain Blake says they're called Krell. They destroyed our home." His voice got very quiet. "Mom and Dad didn't make it to the ship." The dragon felt the boy's sadness, and with it came another wave of that impossible warmth. He reached out with his mind toward the crashed ship. He could feel more of those special lights. Dozens of them. Each human was making their own light in the darkness. "Thomas, I need to look at you more closely with my mind. Do not be afraid." The boy sat very still. Vormathax's mind went deeper, studying the way Thomas's life energy worked. What he found was amazing. It was impossible. It broke every rule that dragons had learned in their long history. Humans made power from nothing. Or rather, they made it from everything. They made it from their feelings. They made it from their will to keep going. They made it from caring about things beyond themselves. When humans connected with each other, they made each other stronger. They were like living batteries that never ran out. Dragons had taken their power from the universe. They pulled it from stars and from other dimensions. They used the universe like a tool. But Vormathax understood something now. Dragons had been like parasites. Strong parasites, yes, but still parasites. Humans were different. They lived together with each other and with life itself. They made their own light. "Your touch is healing me," Vormathax said quietly. "Your species has something we never had." "What's that?" Thomas asked. "Hope that you make yourselves. Hope that does not come from somewhere else." Suddenly there were loud voices at the cave entrance. Armed humans ran into the chamber, shouting Thomas's name. They stopped moving when they saw the dragon. Their faces showed shock and fear. "Thomas, get away from it," a woman's voice commanded. But Thomas stood up and put himself between the dragon and the people. "He's not dangerous. He's hurt just like us." The woman wore a captain's uniform that was torn and dirty. Her name badge said Blake. Her face looked hard and tired, but her eyes were smart. "I'm Captain Emma Blake. We don't mean to intrude, but that's one of our children. I am Vormathax, last scholar of the Draconis Imperium." The dragon lifted his head a little to show respect. This surprised even him. "Your ship cannot be fixed. The Krell who are hunting you will arrive in a few days. Your weapons cannot hurt them." Blake's face did not change. "I know. I can offer you safety. These caves go very deep. They have power and old defenses. In exchange, I ask only to study your people. Study us. You are saving my life just by being near me. I must understand why." Blake looked at Thomas, then back at the dragon. Vormathax could feel her thinking hard, weighing choices. Finally she nodded. "We accept. But I have one condition." "Tell me." "You help us fix our distress beacon. If we're going to die here, we die trying to warn others." Vormathax felt something he had not felt since he was young. He felt respect for another being. "Agreed, Captain. But I do not plan for any of us to die." The humans began walking into the cave. They looked scared but also relieved. They had found shelter. They had found help. Thomas came back to the dragon's side. His small hand found its place on the golden scales again. Vormathax felt his strength growing. The boy's simple faith and trust were feeding him like food. Maybe the ancient dragon thought he had one last purpose after all. Maybe he was not done yet. These humans had reminded him of something important. They had reminded him what it felt like to want to live. As the humans settled into the crystal chambers, Vormathax watched them with new eyes. They were so small. They were so weak. But they had something powerful inside them. Something his people had lost long ago. They had each other. And that made all the difference. Over the next 2 days, the crystal caves changed completely. What had been a tomb for a dying dragon became a home for 47 humans. They set up small shelters in the chambers. They shared their food carefully. They worked hard on the distress beacon that would call for help. Vormathax watched everything like a scientist studying something new. But he found himself caring about these people. An engineer named Robert taught him about human spaceships. They were simple compared to dragon technology, but they were clever and worked well. A medic named Grace told him stories about Earth while she cared for the wounded people. Her hands were steady even though she was afraid. And Thomas stayed close to the dragon most of the time. The boy seemed to think Vormathax was his friend now. "Why did your people give up?" Thomas asked one afternoon. He was sitting in the dragon's shadow, drawing pictures in the dust on the floor. Vormathax thought carefully about the question. We did not give up. We just stopped mattering. We ruled the galaxy for so long that we forgot why we started. Power became the only reason to have power. That sounds lonely, Thomas said. It was. The dragon watched the boy draw a spaceship. How do your people keep going? You only live for 100 years or less. You are so fragile. But you never stop trying. Thomas shrugged like it was simple. Dad used to say that being small means you have to stick together. Nobody survives alone. Such simple words. But they held such deep truth. Captain Blake came over to them. Her face looked worried. Vormathax, we've detected movement in space. 6 ships. They have Krell signatures. The dragon reached out with his mind powers. He could feel the cold, hungry thoughts of the hive mind coming closer. Yes, 6 hunting ships. Each one carried thousands of Krell warriors who were made to fight and consume. 4 days until they arrive, he said. The beacon needs 3 more days at least. Blake's jaw tightened. We can't run. Even if the ship could fly, they're faster than us. Then we fight. With what? We have 17 pulse rifles between us. Krell armor can stop almost anything. With me. Vormathax stood up to his full height. His wings spread out for the first time in decades. Crystal pieces fell and made tinkling sounds on the ground. And with ancient weapons that have been sleeping in these caves since before your species learned to walk upright. He led them deeper into the caves. They came to chambers that had been sealed for thousands of years. Stone doors opened when the dragon commanded them with his mind. Inside were rooms full of weapons that hummed with barely contained power. There were plasma lances, kinetic disruptors, and personal shield generators. Holy! Blake breathed out. Why didn't you mention these sooner? I did not think I would need them again. Vormathax looked at his claws. They were gleaming with new strength now. I was prepared to die. You have reminded me that I am not finished living. Over the next days they got ready for battle. Vormathax taught them how dragons fought wars. He shared thousands of years of knowledge about tactics and strategy. Robert and his team worked with the dragon. They changed the cave's power source into a defensive shield that would protect them. The humans practiced. They drilled. They prepared. Thomas noticed the dragon getting stronger every day. His scales were getting brighter. He moved with his old grace and power. You're getting better, the boy said. Because of you. All of you. Vormathax lowered his huge head to the boy's level. Your people have a gift my kind never had. You make each other stronger just by caring. That energy feeds me more than any star ever could. So we're like dragon medicine? Thomas asked. Despite everything, Vormathax felt amused. Yes, Thomas. You are dragon medicine. The night before the Krell would arrive, the humans gathered in the main cave. Grace led them in singing old Earth songs. They were sad and beautiful at the same time. Vormathax listened. He felt each note touch their collective spirit. He finally understood what his people had lost. Connection. Purpose. The knowledge that your life mattered to others. Thank you, he whispered to Thomas, who had fallen asleep curled up against his side. For reminding me what it means to be alive. Above them in space, the Krell were drawing closer and closer. But Vormathax no longer felt ready to die. He felt ready to fight. He felt ready to protect these humans who had given him back his life. They had saved him. Now he would save them. The battle was coming. And this time the ancient dragon would not face it alone. The Krell arrived like a nightmare made real. 6 ships that looked more like living things than machines came down from the sky. They pulsed with evil life. Their minds spoke as one, sending a cold message into everyone's thoughts. Give us your genetic material. Fighting back only makes the suffering worse. Submit. In the cave's command center, Captain Blake activated the communication system. This is Captain Emma Blake of the human colony vessel Perseverance. We refuse. The shields turned on. A dome of golden energy surrounded the cave complex. The Krell ships descended lower. Their weapons began charging with bioelectric power. Vormathax stood at the cave entrance. Thomas and several humans stood beside him. His scales gleamed like liquid gold. His wings spread wide. He looked every bit the deadly predator his species had once been. Stay behind the shields, he commanded. I will fight them directly. You can't take 6 ships alone. Blake protested. I am not alone. Vormathax looked at the humans. He could feel their determination flowing into him like fuel to a fire. I carry all of you with me. He launched into the sky. His huge body cut through the thin atmosphere like a knife. The nearest Krell ship turned to face him. Its surface rippled with targeting sensors. Vormathax attacked first. His plasma breath was hot enough to melt starship hulls. It wrapped around the ship's front. The ship screamed. Its hive mind broadcast pain through space. Before it could recover, the dragon grabbed it with his telekinetic power and threw it into another ship. They crashed together with crushing force. 2 ships down. But the other 4 adapted instantly. They spread out in a pattern. Their weapons tracked him from multiple angles. Bioplasma bolts crossed the sky. Vormathax twisted through the attack, his old combat skills returning. But several shots hit his wings and sides. Pain. Real pain. He had forgotten how it focused the mind. Below, the shields held as 3 Krell ships hammered them with concentrated fire. Vormathax destroyed a 3rd ship, tearing it apart with his mind powers. But the remaining 3 dropped ground forces. Thousands of chittering creatures with blade-like limbs swarmed toward the cave. The battle became chaos. Humans fired from defensive positions. Their ancient weapons cut down Krell warriors in bursts of light. Grace coordinated the defense with surprising skill. Robert and his engineers kept the shield stable despite the overwhelming attack. But the Krell kept coming. Vormathax landed in front of the main entrance. His body became a living wall. Krell warriors threw themselves at him. Their acid blood splattered his scales. Their blades searched for weak spots. He crushed them by the dozens, but even his renewed strength had limits. One Krell broke through the inner defenses. It found Thomas, who had been helping move ammunition. The creature's multiple eyes fixed on the boy. Its mandibles spread to show its feeding mouth. Thomas grabbed a crystal shard from the ground. He faced the creature. His small body trembled, but his eyes were fierce. No. The word was not spoken. It was felt. Vormathax's telepathic scream came from his terror for the child. It channeled through their connection. Every human in the cave felt it and added to it. The psychic shockwave exploded outward like a star-going supernova. It disrupted the Krell hive mind link across the entire battlefield. Warriors froze. Their collective intelligence shattered into confused individuals. The ship's coordination collapsed into chaos. In that moment of stillness, Vormathax understood the truth. His bond with Thomas, with all these humans, had not just healed him. It had evolved him into something beyond what dragons had ever been. A dragon with purpose. With a roar that shook the moon itself, Vormathax unleashed everything he had held back. His plasma breath at full power. His telekinetic force strong enough to crack mountains. And the psychic strength born from genuine connection. One Krell ship exploded. Another fled into space. The 3rd crashed into the moon's surface, burning. The ground forces, cut off from their hive mind, scattered and fell. When silence finally returned, Vormathax stood among the bodies of his enemies. His wing was torn. His scales were scorched. But he was victorious. Thomas ran to him. The child's arms barely wrapped around one huge claw. You did it. You saved us. We saved each other, the dragon corrected gently. He looked at the battered but living humans coming out of the cave. As it should be. 5 humans had died in the defense. They held a service that night. Vormathax learned another human gift. How to grieve with grace and remember with honor. The Federation rescue fleet arrived 6 days later. Their sensors picked up the human distress signal and something else that shocked the entire galaxy. An active dragon biosignature. A living Draconis. Captain Blake stood beside Vormathax as the ships landed. Her hand rested on his scales in a gesture of friendship. This moment would be broadcast across 100 worlds. They'll want to study you, she said quietly. The university, the military, everyone. Let them. Vormathax watched Thomas playing with other children. Their laughter echoed through the crystals. I have a better study in mind. What's that? I wish to travel with your people, Captain. To understand humanity fully. To share the dragon archives. 10,000 years of knowledge. In exchange for something my people never learned. What's that? How to matter. The dragon's voice carried the weight of ancient sadness and newfound hope. The dragons ruled through power. We enforced order through fear. We shaped the galaxy to our will. But we never gave other races a reason to mourn when we faded away. Blake smiled slightly. You think we would mourn you? I think young Thomas would. And perhaps that is enough. Over the following weeks, the Federation set up a temporary base. Scholars arrived to verify the impossible. A living dragon. An alliance with humanity. Vormathax made his proposal formal. He would share everything. Technology. History. Tactical knowledge. All of it would go to humanity. In return, he would travel among them to study their unique strength. The Federation Council debated for days. but ultimately they agreed. The strategic advantage of dragon knowledge was too valuable to refuse. And the dragon had proven himself an ally in the most definitive way possible. He had fought beside them. He had bled for them. On the day of departure, Thomas approached with something hidden behind his back. "I made you something," the boy said shyly. It was a drawing. Crude but heartfelt. It showed a golden dragon with a small human boy standing beside him. Above them, Thomas had written in careful letters with a marker, "Friends." Vormathax felt something impossible happen. His eyes, which had not produced tears in thousands of years, grew wet. "I have lived 10,000 years, he said softly, "and no one has ever given me a gift. Thank you, Thomas. You're coming with us, right? If you will have me. Forever." Vormathax considered that word. Dragons measured time in eons. Humans measured it in heartbeats. Yet somehow, forever did not seem long enough. "Forever," he agreed. As their ship lifted from the moon, Vormathax looked back at his cave one last time. It had been his tomb. Then his laboratory. Then his battlefield. Now it was simply the place where he had learned the most important lesson of all. Endings are a choice. Throughout the galaxy, other ancient beings stirred from their long isolation. News traveled fast. A dragon had returned to the stars. Not as a ruler but as an ally. Not as a conqueror but as a friend. The news spread like wildfire. If even dying gods could find purpose again, what else might be possible? Humans, the galaxy's newest children, had done something that thousands of years of warfare never could. They had reminded the universe that power without connection was just another form of death. Thomas sat beside Vormathax in the ship's observation deck. His small hand rested on the dragon's scales as stars streaked past the windows. "What are you thinking about?" the boy asked. "I am thinking," Vormathax replied, "that your species may be the most dangerous thing the galaxy has ever encountered." "Dangerous? But we're weak." "No, Thomas. You're small. There is a difference." The dragon's eyes gleamed with ancient wisdom and new understanding. "You are dangerous because you make others want to be better. You inspire hope in the hopeless. You touch the dying and make them want to live. Is that bad? It is wonderful. And terrifying. And exactly what this old galaxy needs." Far away, in isolation chambers and forgotten systems, other ancient beings received the message broadcast by the Federation. The dragons have returned. They have chosen alliance. They have chosen purpose. They have chosen humanity. And one by one, curious and desperate and hopeful, they began to emerge from their long darkness. They were seeking these strange small beings who could rekindle even the coldest stars. Thomas fell asleep against Vormathax's side. His breathing was soft and steady. The dragon curled around him protectively. A gesture that would have been unthinkable before. He watched the galaxy spin past. "Thank you," he whispered to the sleeping child, "for reminding me that even ancient dragons can begin again." Somewhere in the ship, Captain Blake reviewed mission reports. Robert planned upgrades using dragon technology. Grace treated the wounded. And 42 other humans simply lived. Laughing, arguing, hoping, dreaming. Their combined energy was a beacon that burned brighter than any sun. The galaxy would never be the same. And Vormathax, last scholar of the Dragon Imperium, first friend of humanity, guardian of Thomas and all his fragile incredible people, was grateful to be alive to see it.